James, my man, what made you want to make the switch from football to acting?
Well, what made me want to take on this role is that it was the first role that I actually got off.
I'm with Steven and Alexander, or Alex. Can I call you Alex? I think we're on that level right now.
Whatever you want.
I'm gonna stick with Alex then. I feel like in the show, you're like Edge.
People need to believe that we can be better.
Brothers sparring. Tale as old as time.
People only love the good guys as much as they hate the bad.
You look just like Edge, the WWE character. I feel like this is his villain origin story. Did you look to any pro wrestlers for inspiration in your role?
Actually, Edge.
Really?
Adam is a really, really close friend of mine, and I leaned on him heavily in terms of preparing. I will say that any resemblance to his character is purely coincidence. So
legally, it's a coincidence.
Yes.
Legally.
Yes.
Legally, it's a coincidence. Of course. Steven, your character, Jack, he is like super prideful. He's a know-it-all. He's almost like the perfect heel, but in real life. How will his character flaws impact the show, impact the story, and overall the characters around him?
Yeah, the most interesting thing to do with a character is watch that character mess up. And he messes up in the first episode. He panics. He's worried about losing. He's worried about losing Ace to the boys up north, and he screws him over hard. Full screw job, but by Jack. And this splinter, the fracture that causes in their relationship, becomes the driving force of the first season of the show.
I want to win the belt tonight. Dad started it. You got it. I deserve it. Why the hell do you get to make all the decisions?
Well, because one way or the other, Dad left me in charge. And I think that you need to admit there's been a maldistribution of effort and responsibility around these parts.
I don't find anything interesting about playing a character that isn't flawed.
Yes, definitely. And I'm switching gears a little bit. I know you both have been in like action-packed roles. Did you find that this role was more physically demanding than some of your other previous roles?
Yeah, 100%. You cannot fake professional wrestling. Hitting the ropes, hitting the mat. This is a real wrestling ring. To say nothing of the fact that you're literally naked out there, aside from your bits and pieces. You're there. You're bare. You're laid bare in front of a crowd, in front of, in HD. And if you can't get it done, we can't fake it for you.
I would echo what Steven said. It was somebody who didn't know what, I hadn't wrestled before. This was a huge learning curve for me. And I knew that Ace being the rock star, the guy who was going to make it out of his town, he had to look like a pro. And that went with a lot of training, and more than I've ever done for anything else. One thing I definitely didn't foresee was the amount of trust we had to have in each other when it came to wrestling. Like, that Steven didn't drop me on my head and vice versa. But it's no joke. I mean, the only thing that's fake about wrestling is the storylines, and even that can go haywire. The match, what you put your body through is just incredible.
Most definitely. So thank you both for taking the time to hang out with me.
Great talking to you. Thank you.
I'm hanging out with Allison and Kelly. How's it going, ladies? Let's dive right in. Kelly, I love your character, Crystal. She's an underdog. She's a strong woman.
The stuff with you and Ace. We're partners. The locker room's for wrestling. I can wrestle. Let's go.
What made you want to take on this role?
I mean, for that reason specifically, especially with all of the women in this show, I know Allison can speak to this as well, that they are strong, badass women. And they are the level-headed ones amongst these men that sometimes act on emotion and can't always get a grip. So I love that part of her. I love that Crystal was so layered and that she is just a girl with a dream. And you root for her so hard because we see in these first few episodes, I mean, it's very obvious that she's treated a certain way. And you feel really bad for her, but she keeps this quiet resilience throughout the show. And as each episode unfolds, we get to learn more and more about Crystal. And I think she gains a little more respect from some of these guys and makes a name for herself and proves herself.
Where did you get your inspiration from when portraying this character?
I mean, it started with first and foremost Kelly as a young actress wanting to,
Of course.
her opportunity in this business. That's where the core of it is how I relate to her in that sense. But when you bring it into a wrestling world, which I had to learn about and embody as Crystal, I first searched famous ballets because that's where we find Crystal. And so we have people like Miss Elizabeth, who was a very famous ballet, who then went on to wrestle, started with that, and then learning about other wrestlers like China and her position as a woman in wrestling and what that did for her. And then people like Alexa Bliss, who are currently thriving in this wrestling world. So I really tried to get a bunch of different perspectives on females in the wrestling world.
Looking at Allison, what I love about your character is that she starts off with Stacy. She starts off, really kind of passive. And until it comes to a point where she's like, okay, I'm going to take charge. I'm going to put things in my own hands and, really start, doing things myself. How will her character evolve throughout the story? And how will that impact this overall story?
Well, as Kelly said before, the women in this series are really the backbone in this series. They're the reason that this town and this community and this chosen family that is the DWL can even function. And something that we see Stacy discover is, first of all, I call her like the queen of accountability. She is the only person that can challenge Jack. Everyone else, it feels like they have no voice. He is the one that makes all the decisions. They're very clear. He's very clear about that. Stacy Spade is the only one that can actually hold him accountable and challenge him.
Well, maybe you should spend some time with Thomas.
I haven't finished the script. Who should win?
Us.
And we meet her at this crossroads in her life. They're not a newlywed couple. They've been married for about 10 years. They have an 8-year-old son. She saw her life as wanting to be a stay-at-home mom, but now Thomas is in school, and we do get to see Stacy come into her own and decide to take matters in her own hands and realize that lesson that we can all learn, which is in order to take care of someone else, you got to take care of yourself, period.
Yes. Thank you, ladies, for joining me and hanging out with me, and take care.
Thank you, Kwam. Bye.
What's up? I'm hanging out with Chris and Mary. So Mary, your character Willie, she's what I would call a bad AB. I love how she takes crap from no one, and she's always so strong. So what was it like portraying such a strong character?
I love playing this part. And I think they did a great job writing her because she's so complex and has so many sides to her. On the one hand, you're right, at work, she is, or it seems, very strong. I mean, they're afraid of her and should be. She has to be that way in that environment, I think, to make it happen, to make everything go. And I think she likes it. I think she thrives there. I think that's where she feels most at home and most in her own skin. But then, you see this other side of her too in her family life. And you sort of think like, well, that feels like an odd fit. It feels like she's sitting on her wallet. So I'm not quite comfortable, And I love that those two things have to exist at the same time. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, it makes her definitely a well fleshed out character, a multifaceted character. And I think, just seeing her evolve will be amazing. Do you think she would wrestle if she was given the opportunity to?
100%. Yeah, I think she wouldn't have been a ballet. She would have been a wrestler.
Yeah. Initially, when she looks at Crystal, she tells her, you can't come in here. You can't be this. You can't do this.
The locker room's for wrestlers, not ballets.
I'm not just a ballet. I can wrestle.
Do you think that's generally how she feels, or is it her trying to protect Crystal?
No, I think Crystal's skipping steps. And maybe Willie does have some of her own stuff wrapped up in that. Maybe there is some of her own old-fashioned or, older-fashioned ideas about gender in wrestling. Even if she doesn't think it up here, she might think it back here,
Yes, very true. And Chris, when we see your character, Wild Bill, we don't see too much of him, but we can see that he's brutally honest. Can you give some more insight into that character?
I don't know if I can give you more insight, because I think that insight might be the one thing that he was born without. But he does believe what he's saying, and he calls it like he sees it. And I mean, that's kind of one of the dangers of Wild Bill is he doesn't play. He's always got an angle. The whole world is a ring to him, and he will use your weakness to get ahead.
So that goes into my next question. You already see the influence your character has on Ace. what impact will he have on the other characters?
He'll impact other characters the way an asteroid impacts the Earth. He is the kind of guy that there's not a lot of nuance and subtlety when he enters a room. And I, we'll find out, through the show that he is only sort of reciprocating the impact he felt in the past with Willie. And that has not gone away. And I think she's the only living being on Earth that he still feels connected to from his most authentic self. And here they are in the same town again. So that's got to go somewhere.
Okay. Thank you both for hanging out with me, and take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm hanging out with James and Alan. What's going on, fellas? So James, my man, I went to IUP, which is a huge Steelers town. It's right next to Pittsburgh. So you know that everyone there loved the Steelers. And I watched you in college and, when I was growing up, and just watching you as a phenomenal football player. What made you want to make the switch from football to acting?
Well, what made me want to take on this role is that it was the first role that I actually got offered. And just from of course you gotta read and audition for it, and just reading the character from the pages before I even got into the audition, I felt like it was a character that I could portray and make come to life on screen.
We all got chops. DWL will be fine. After I went to rehab, the DWL took me back. Jack took me back. That's gratitude.
That was something that led me to actually just read for it and go in and try and get it. The acting bug, was more of another challenge, to be honest with you. I had extreme stage fright. You rarely heard me talk in interviews because that was my thing. I was scared of talking. So for me to actually go into being an actor and being in front of a camera and reading lines is something that nobody would ever thought I was doing. But for me, it was another challenge, another step.
Do you think your time in the NFL really, prepared you for this role?
I don't think, as far as acting, my time in the NFL prepared me for that. But I think the physical nature of what it is that I did, and having to work out and build your body, and knowing how to take care of your body, and understanding that dynamic of the physical components of what you need to do to get the best out of your body is something that, really helped me. And, that's something that I actually, I feel like I helped Alan with, as far as, trying to get him into, he's a smaller guy. He needed to gain a little bit of weight, of course, but just the dynamic of, hey, Alan, you got to stretch, bro. You can't go out here running 4 and 5 Ks and wonder why your calf's tight and you don't stretch on the damn calf machine, like it was small things like, Alan, you got to roll out, man,
James, we all know that you're a workout warrior. Alan, I feel bad for you if you had to work out next to James. I've seen his training on IG.
9-month bid, you understand me? I'm you did that thing 5 o'clock in the morning every day, baby.
That's a scary sight, man. I would tell you. Okay, Alan, I want to get to you and your character, Rooster.
It's Rooster. I got value, I got skill. Tonight, we crushed.
Y'all need me, because ain't nobody that can do this.
He feels like he's being slighted by Jack and he's being overlooked. Tell me, is this his villain origin story?
I mean, you gotta let it develop. You gotta let the thing, you know what I'm saying, shake the camera, shake the film, shake the picture a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But Rooster is just a person that just wants his opportunity, man, and is willing to do whatever it takes to get there, And Apocalypse is sort of a saving grace as far as him not getting into the trouble that he would probably get into if James wasn't there, or Apocalypse rather. So it's a thin line that he's kind of walking on that you'll see throughout the season on which side that he goes on. Like I said, I don't want to give away too much, but he's walking that tightrope of face and heel.
Trust. Well, that's all the time we had today. Thank you, y'all. Take care.
You gotta be able to take the heat. You need to learn how to separate you, the character, from you, the person.
They all cheer for me?
We cheer for the character.
The character I play.
The character I created.
Your dad built a cathedral to a local pastime.
You They're coming tonight because they trust me to tell them a better story than what they have to live with every day.
It ain't about winning or losing. Make them love you.
Make them love hate you.
We got kids to come to the show, Ace.
What's the matter? You afraid I'm gonna go off script?
What'd you say? I said,
No one makes their living from wrestling anymore.
We can, I can.
heroes.
The locker room's for wrestlers, not valets.
I'm not just a valet. I can wrestle.
Ace can succeed at the highest level. It's a natural. It's in his blood.
Are you taking me with you?
After I make it big, I could come back.
You're never gonna see Duffy again.
I'm trying.
We could be